Hello everyone, I hope you're having a good day today. So let's just get straight to the topic. We have Hurricane Lee. It's making some convection, could potentially start to make an eye. We have tropical waves coming off the coast. Invest 97L currently right here. We have another chance right here. This is going to submerge with Invest 95L, which is going to bring the chances up of having tropical development. Caribbean needs to keep an eye on this, and also Bahamas need to keep an eye on this. There's two models that are showing that it's either going to go in the Caribbean or in the Bahamas. We have Tropical Storm Margot, we have leftovers of Katia right here. Alrighty. Just gotta have this wait. Alrighty. So, as you can see, it's starting to make that eye once again right there. And that convection's also starting to go up. It is starting to intensify. It has now advanced up to a Category 3 major hurricane with stronger winds. It's starting to put that more convection right around here. It's going to start to intensify a little bit quicker, but then it will start to weaken as time goes by. We see that the Cirrus is still at the Virgin Islands and Dominican Republic, kind of Dominican Republic. You can actually see a little bit better here. There was a bit of a special marine warning just for a second of the model time, but that went away quite quick. Water spouts could have been possible due to that special marine warning. Alright, so this is the east coast of Africa. We can see Margot right there. We have some showers and thunderstorms starting to come off of Africa. We also have this tropical wave that is already off of Africa. We have Invest 97L, 20 or 30% chance of developing. It's starting to make that rotation. And both of these showers and thunderstorms, all three of the circles, not including Margot, are still quite disorganized. Where Invest 95L, I will be now making an arrow to. It has a lower chance of developing due to it not being in such conducive environments for it to develop. Hold on, I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Sorry for that. So these showers and thunderstorms are not very organized, but they will continue to organize and build rotation as the time goes by. Wind speeds are going to start to increase also as time goes by, and they will start to strengthen. Let's make sure this is updated. So I expect this disturbance 2 to start to make a little bit more of a not so high turn like that. I think it's going to kind of flatten out like that. And we can see that this other tropical outlook right here has a bit of, it's pointing a little bit more just straight west. 20% chance of cyclone formation over the next 7 days. That has went down from a 30 to 20. There still is a chance that this can go up as time goes by, so I have to keep an eye of that. But we're mostly going to have to pay attention to both of these disturbances. They're most likely going to submerge with each other and form a bigger tropical wave, which is going to be the one that most likely develops. So this is going to curve through. As this continues to move, this is going to curve right into it. They're going to submerge and make one big tropical wave that's going to be a lot more advanced, and it could start to form up stronger low pressure systems, which could potentially even make a hurricane. Wind speeds. This is the max we're seeing for normal wind speed, 20 mile per hour winds right there. The max we're seeing over here around 18 to 20 miles per hour. Wind gusts have changed a little bit. They're a little bit more fast, not that different. Highest we're seeing is 23 to 24 on Invest 97L. That's the possible development area. Over here, around 20 miles per hour, going southwest at 20 miles per hour. Nothing that concerning, but these storms will submerge into each other. Pressure is starting to build. As you can see, it's not a high pressure area anymore. It is starting to become an average area of it's a low pressure area, so there's lower pressures right around here, not a low pressure system officially, but the area where the center of the storms goes down to 1014, which is average millibar, and around here it's about the same. As that continues though, low pressure starts to move in from the central Africa, and as the storm intensifies, it already starts to make low pressure itself, and low pressure moves into the storm, which helps it continuously develop. You can see that right there. This is September 11th, 12 a.m. We can see that there is this low pressure area, weak low pressure, but continuously expanding. You can see that continuously intensifying over the day. You can see that there's a low pressure system right there and a low pressure system right there. That will continue to intensify and become more broad and compact as the storm starts to intensify itself. It has its own spot of low pressure. It seems to be going down though, and that is something we'll have to keep an eye on and see what happened here. But currently, then it blows up again, and then I think this is going to be the main time area when we're going to start to see these low pressure systems really start to kick in. It's getting close to the middle of the eastern Atlantic Ocean, but then it forms back down as these two high pressure areas are submerging it and like smushing it. But then as this low pressure rate of Africa starts to move in, it helps supply the storm, and it's going to erratically blow up into a little bit lower pressure, like 1010, 1011, but then that high pressure system is going to move a little bit back. But then we can see that this low pressure is actually now starting to move around. This is more widespread. These high pressure areas are not directly beating the storm. The low pressure is now starting to spread out, which gets rid of the high pressure as Margot is starting to push that high pressure away from the lower areas, which is going to start to put a delay for this high pressure system to start moving into them. It will, however, but by then we're going to start to see the storm itself start to move away. You can see it really hitting it again. But then that blast of low pressure is going to kick through, and right around here is the area that we need to keep an eye out for, because we can see lower pressures right there and lower pressures right here. Lee is still right there, which can be the cause of this low pressure. But we can see that there are these two systems out there, and they really start to weaken. But as that low pressure moves through, once again, this area starts to calm down. The precipitation at this point is still right here, so it's kind of stalled. But it is moving, however, and it is moving not very slow, but it also is moving pretty slow. So you can see that there is this area of rotation right here. Both of these systems are going to start to collide. There's two areas of rotation. The middle, this is going to collide straight into that. This storm's going to kind of stall for a second, and that's going to make the collision of the storm. That's the reason why we're going to see a higher chance of this developing into an actual system. But for this to continuously happen, this low pressure system needs to hang on and get away from these high pressure systems right around here. Margot is helping, however, and keeping this high pressure area just far enough that it can advance a little bit. This high pressure's also just far enough, but Margot is not helping on that. That's just where the high pressure is itself. The high pressure right here and the low pressure right here causes these thunderstorms, and a swirl happens that creates scattered showers and thunderstorms. They group up and they become unorganized, and they move off of Africa and they continue to intensify. The icon says that it has a little bit more broad area of lower pressure, but the GFS also kind of shows that, and it starts to advance. But over time, we can see that this ridge of high pressure seems like it's going to start to dig through down into more of the lower pressure areas, and so will this other higher pressure, and it's going to move straight in and it could kind of decapitate the storm just for maybe an hour or two. Then it's going to form right back up and will be on its track onto becoming a stronger storm. It's still a 1010 low pressure by September 13th, 2 a.m. So it shows that this storm has a lot of power that it needs to get into. And yeah, the wind speeds are starting. It's already starting to make its collision, because we're starting to see right here it's making its rotation, and it's starting to make that oval rotation. That shows that both of these storms are starting to move into each other. We have winds going on both of these areas of disturbances, and we have other parts of air coming into both of these systems that show that they are starting to collide, because wind from all the way on the other side are also moving into this part of rotation, which shows that these storms are starting to collide and merge with each other, which shows that both of these systems are colliding. And the icon, however, shows that it already has collided with each other, which makes that big oval. And GFS is saying that that's going to happen, but there's 3 circulations that are eventually going to merge into one circulation, which is going to continuously intensify at that point. Icon already shows that with some higher winds, and it shows that it's intensifying a little bit more fast. So both of these models could be accurate. We're just going to have to figure out which one is going to be the actual main causer here. So this is the GFS model. As you can see, that's Lee passing by, going straight on. It's getting quite close to hitting Bermuda, but it's just showing that it's going to stay away. Bahamas still need to keep an eye. New England, keep an eye, but it's showing that that storm is going to stay most likely out there. As you can see, this is Nigel right here. This is Storm Nigel that comes close to a lot closer to, Lee was right around here and was a lot more east, and how this storm gets even closer to the Bahamas and even closer to the east coast of Florida, which could cause some outer bands on the east and west coast with some more mild gusty winds. That is possible. Bahamas, around here, you're going to maybe see some tropical storm conditions depending on where the storm rolls out. But then as we pay attention, we can see that it curves. It takes this turn right around when it gets to Virginia, doesn't hit immediately, then curves down, and it could be going on that track to going straight back down into the southern areas. If this happens and it doesn't weaken immediately, that could strengthen in and take another turn and affect another area. If we go to another area here, this is, let's go to Western Atlantic. Never mind. Same one we just did. No. And this is Tropical Atlantic. And we can see that there's this low pressure system that fluctuates due to this high pressure ridge right here that comes in and pressurizes it, because it's a big high pressure area that like smushes it. And then there's a other high pressure system that I'm going to be making an arrow to down there, which is also going to help the other high pressure system smush it. But we do have Margot really beating it. It's like pushing it back. It's like a big wall and a big person with a punching fist, and just pushes right into it. But it doesn't break all of it. It just pushes that area that it's really pushing into away, which causes some of the outer parts of the high pressure kind of retreat, like maybe 100 miles away from that area. Still will kind of affect this storm, but once it starts to move away from this high pressure ridge, which it eventually does, it starts to pick up. The GFS starts to pick up this rotation. It fluctuates pressure quite a bit. As you can see, it starts to approach. It just gives that Virgin Islands, Dominican Republic, and Jamaica, right around here in the higher areas of the border islands, you're going to see some actual outer band activity. The storm center is kind of close to where it is currently. If we back this up in time, we can see that Lee was a lot further out, but this storm shows that it's a lot closer, which can bring up the chances of seeing tropical weather conditions. The waves are going to be even higher, high surf, and even this range shows that maybe the feeder bands are going to be going under the lower parts of the border islands. This gets a lot closer to the Bahamas, then makes that turn and shows that it kind of is getting wicked and kind of goes on that track, which if it does go down, then it potentially could develop again depending on where it goes then. It shows that track where it's going to kind of go down like that could just get picked up and pushed back, but there is a high pressure system that's probably going to form around here, or at least close. Then we have this other area right here that kind of looks like it has a bit of a swirl, but not a low pressure system that shows it yet. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this thing. Could be another tropical wave that moves off of Africa. It did show that it went to 1010 low pressure, but it does start to see that it picks up that rainfall and starts to make that rotation swirl. And then, I don't know if this one's the same, but here we have this other low pressure system that starts swirling. It shows that it's quite close to the Dominican Republic and Jamaica. It shows that it gets quite close, but it doesn't do that same turn. It just goes straight up and pushes directly into Virginia, basically almost making landfall right there. If we go to the North Atlantic, we can actually see a better view of what this looks like. We see Lee that passes right by the Bermuda area. Then we have this other low pressure, Nigel, gets quite close to the east coast of Florida, at least 100 to 300 miles away, maybe 400 to 500. But the Bahamas definitely would see some higher winds. The east coast would see some mild gusts with a little bit more showers and thunderstorms if it follows this cast. But then we can see that it doesn't make that turn when it goes into Virginia. It doesn't spread out, and it doesn't just decide to turn back like that. It does not do that, and it does not show it on this model. So that is quite interesting, and it shows that it gets a lot closer to Maine, Rhode Island. I mean, it does make that impacts of Rhode Island, and it just rides. And that's a 957 millibar. Oh my god. Okay. We actually need to pay attention to that because that's 957 millibars. That is very strong for it just to be that north. Oh my god. And thankfully it weakens very quick, but like 957 to 959, that's like at least Cat 2, maybe low 1 Cat 3. That, oh my. And then it just goes straight into a bit of the Great Lakes. I'll circle that for you. Just like the inner but outer parts of the center. And it just spreads out so much. There's these feeder bands that go all the way out to sea, just that leftover moisture. And it just digs right through the east coast, and it just is dominating the coast right there. The wind's going to be pushing upwards, as it's going to be pushing the same direction as where the storm's going to be going. It's going to kind of flow air from southern areas of like the Bahamas, and that air is going to rush in. Then it's going to circulate right into Maine and a bit of New York. So these areas, if this were to be the scenario, which is going to change a lot, those areas could see a little bit of storm surge depending on how strong this system's going to be if it does this scenario. And then as we continue through time, it gets quite close to Maine, Portland, those areas, like the little bit more southern areas of Maine, you're getting quite close to that center of the hurricane Nigel, and a 972 storm, and it's that far north, just shows that that is something that people need to pay attention to. But we do have two of these high pressure systems, and that all depends on what these do. If a high pressure system moves in right here, it could save these areas from the storm going there, but that could pose a risk for the more southern areas like these. I'm sorry, Florida, but if that's what is the case, it's going to keep it from going up north that much, which might even put it as a risk for Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, all the way up to New England. If that's the case, I mean, high pressure systems are usually very widespread and they protect a big area from low pressure areas, but it seems like it's going to kind of just push through that high pressure, and as you can see, it's going to have the chance to push this high pressure system away, and it's going to push it out to sea, and then this one's kind of just drifting off its own. We have this other area with a little bit lower pressure that could be pushing it away a little bit, and the leftovers of this, the outer parts pushing it away, as that has a bit of lower pressure right there. And the highest we're going to see from it going there is 988. That's still at least a tropical storm. And it goes all the way that north into Canada as a 988 low pressure area. That's crazy. Then we have this new low pressure very far out, so Fantasyland probably. We do have this 1013 low pressure that seems to be, it's very hard to make out where it can go. It could just become a fish storm. I'm not sure at this point, but the fact that it makes landfall just around here as a 957 to 959 is just crazy, because there are two scenarios that I've seen, and one of these could happen, or it could just go straight through the Caribbean, which there have been models showing that, and from there I'm not sure. So there's like three things that we need to keep an eye on for. It could just go straight up to the Bahamas and get pretty close to Florida, then move straight through and kind of make that turn. So it would be pretty close. That would be just circle the area of like where the center would be. Around there, then it would kind of get super close to Virginia, then it would make that turn, and then it kind of just goes like that. That's the other model. One of these could happen, but I think there's going to be a lot of changing that's going to happen with this storm. So we need to keep an eye. I'm not too worried yet, but this is the True Color satellite. We see Margot, basically a fish storm, not impacting any major land sources, and it's probably not going to. Lee, starting to make that eye once again. It has officially made that. That outflow is starting to get stronger and longer. And you can also see some cirrus even at these islands right here of Margot. We have Invest 97L, and we have this other tropical wave disturbance too. We have some showers and thunderstorms coming off of Africa. We see Cuba with some stronger showers and thunderstorms, and under it, Jamaica, Guatemala, Dominican Republic passing showers and thunderstorms. Cirrus in Jamaica and the higher areas of the border islands, not nearly as much impacts with those outer bands than we expected with the HAFSB parent temperature Celsius. But you can see there is this big cell of thunderstorms towards the northern areas that have caused some severe weather, and even into Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, all these areas that I'm circling just now could have some stronger weather events in the country weather systems. These are cold fronts that have kind of been lingering for a decent amount of time. Towards Miami and towards the bottom of Florida, there is that thunderstorm brewing through. Won't be long. It's just going to be some passing showers and thunderstorms. Tallahassee, some passing showers and thunderstorms you've seen today. Mostly relatively quiet for Florida. Some gusty winds. Not that much, not from anything that's concerning. A little bit of a breezy day, but nothing that bad. Lee is now making that eye, as we can see, it's probably just going to kick away from the Bahamas, which is a very good sign. No threats to Florida currently, and I doubt that it's going to have any threats to land, but we definitely need to keep an eye on in these two areas right here, because that first and that second model showed that it was mainly the first model showed that it was quite close to the Bahamas, and those outer bands definitely were hitting Florida at that moment. So we definitely need to keep an eye on what that storm does. It's hard to tell. Let's go straight to Radar Omega. So you can see there is some weather, and in Texas, some severe weather, maybe even a tornado warning right here. As you can see, maybe a severe thunderstorm, 70-mile-per-hour winds. Tornado warning. Okay. These areas need to keep an eye. Let's go straight to velocity. Let's see. It's not. I gotta go to single site. Right. So right here you can see there is this area, that hook right there. There's this kind of hook forming right here, and in between that could be something that could form up due to circulation in the storm and rotation in the storm. This is not a live stream, but oh yeah, you can see right there could be a tornado. Right there, yep. Right there could be a tornado. Okay. There's green air, there's green which indicates going towards the radar, and red going away. Green, red, that can usually cause some rotation that we're starting to see with this storm. And that is something we definitely need to keep an eye on. And yeah, you can see like right there, there's this area especially that needs to keep an eye. Definitely needs to keep an eye, honestly though. Ugh. Yeah. Definitely something like right here. Definitely something could happen right there. There's rotation right there in that storm cell that is brewing and starting to rotate, that I'm starting to see on a lot of these radars. Source indicated. But that's that. We have some severe thunderstorm areas starting to brew up. We can see that there is this right here, not rotation, definitely stronger parts of the storm. We can say that. There's lots of severe weather just around it, especially in Texas and Casper. There's some severe weather right next to you guys. Definitely needs to keep an eye. And let's go to the Hurricane Lee. Hurricane Lee, you may reveal yourself. Alright, there we go. We can see that this eye, I watched this eye, it officially has this eye wall starting to build right there. That worst part of the storm just right there, and right where that blue is, oof, super power. And so it didn't have an eye for a while, but you can see that these cloud tops go super high, especially around that core. Very high clouds. No joke. This storm is not a diddly-daddly kind of thing. Good thing that this is not hitting anywhere on land currently, which is a good thing. We wanted to keep it that way. But look at that. It looks like there's a tornado just going down. It looks like a funnel, which we have seen just going straight down, and it's been doing that for quite a while. Let's do 7 frames because I don't want to really go out that far. It dipped a little bit, then kind of went up, but it's starting to move out of that wind shear, and it's starting to be a little bit more habitable for the storm to really start to kick itself together. We're starting to see it could actually be a Category 4 right now. That is potential with this storm itself. I would not doubt it. You can see that it really cleared up that center of rotation, and it's really just right there. It's pretty clear that there is that eye that's really starting to form now. Now let's go to long wave. So you can see that right around it, all of this blue is very cold clouds. So that's like at the top of the clouds. That is extremely cold. And then it's heating in the middle. When that does that, that shows intensification because around it, it's cold. But that warm air needs to go somewhere, and it goes into the eye, which shows rapid intensification, which we're not going to see rapid intensification, but we're definitely going to see at least some gradual intensification, which is showing a lot of that gradual intensification. We have some of these clouds, and they're going quite high up. They're almost matching this storm over here. It's a lot of heavy rain around there. They've seen it. And yeah, that's that. But yeah, this storm's starting to really intensify, and it's starting to get up that major hurricane status once again, as it was a Category 2 today, making its way up back to a Category 3, if not 4 already. The max we're going to see it is most like a Category 4. We can check Zoomer Earth currently. There's a lot of convection that's starting to build with that storm that shows intensification. Yes, it's a Category 3 major hurricane. That eye is clear now. Just a few hours ago, that was not really visible. But as that time went by, you can just barely make out. 10 minutes, you can see that this area right here looks like it's starting to dip down. And I could see that from a few hours ago, that it really started to swirl and that cloud started to spread out. What we're seeing here, how long we can see for like an actual clear view, is 11 miles. That is building quite fast. As 10 minutes ago, it was maybe like 10 or 9 miles, so it's building quite fast. And you can see that that outflow goes out a lot further now. We do have invest. Oh, went down even more. That's interesting. Things are changing a lot with these tropical weather outlooks. That needs to be updated. Yep, 10% chance, might even go down to a 0, but this has now gone up to a 50% chance, so this storm we definitely need to keep an eye on. Near 0% in the next 48 hours, 50% chance medium next 7 days. This one's starting, it's pointing like directly into the Caribbean, but what these storms are going to do, they're going to collide into each other. But that's going to wrap up the video for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it's informing people. If you are in some severe or tornado warnings, please take all the precautions that you were given about. If you are under a severe thunderstorm watch, prepare a shelter that you will be going into if you get warned about it. If you get a warning of severe warnings or any kind of warning, tornado warning, hail warning, flood warning, please seek shelter. And if it's a flood warning, please make sure that you follow the path of where people are going and you go to a higher, more sturdy building and you ride out that storm. If you are in a severe thunderstorm warning, please take shelter immediately, as it will kick up fast and it will be pretty gusty. Tree limbs will fall off. Trust me, I've seen it. I know what it is. It's not a joke. But yeah, make sure to always stay weather ready. I'll keep you updated. And yeah, bye.